back to my life with Newman. My life with plants. I'm Newman, and I'm going to give you a little tour of my house plants and let you know how they're doing. So stay tuned. First up is this repotted about 3 weeks ago now. You can see it's put out this beautiful new leaf, Philodendron Brazil. It's also got some new growth here. I do my repotting quite late in the autumn because the temperatures then are intermediate warm indoors, and the plant will put out a better root system and grow much better than if I do it any other time of the year. Next up I want to show you is this Hoya rotundifolia with its truncate leaves, or the end of the leaf looks like it's blunt or like a wedge. It's also covered in hairs, you can see there, pubescent, and hairs growing on leaves in nature is a way of the plant ridding off excess water. It's a way to control humidity and everything like that. And these are grown from cuttings. So I have another plant right here. There's this nice new growth on it. Nice and shiny. It's very easy to grow, and I'm looking forward to the flowers. This is my biggest and oldest. The other plant I have to get rid of, but this is the oldest plant I have of Hoya bella. It's growing in a mix that retains water because it does not like drying out, really, if you can help it. So it likes to remain moist, and it's been doing really well after it's been repotted. It got moved from the window to off to the side here, where it has continued to grow. I did give it a good trim bag when I repotted it. So if you don't have Hoya bella, you should always at least have one. They grow really well even in cooler climates, where your indoor temperatures in summer get no hotter than 25 degrees. And it can go down to 10 degrees because it's off from the window, so the 10 degrees temperature won't bother it one bit. It does get a little bit bothered if it's in the window there, but it's very easy to grow, very easy. Gives you an abundance of flowers too. This is my Hoya attenuata, I think it's attenuata, and this one is one that I rescued from frostbite on my main plant, and then I took those cuttings off and I trimmed off the dead parts that were frostbitten, planted it, and I made a whole new plant. It's been growing indoors for a few years now, but I don't have to worry about my Horthias outside anymore because I covered them with a plastic lid. They all sit in a tray that's insulated, and the lid's insulated too against the cold. Next up is my fairy castle that continues to get bigger and bigger. You can see how magnificent this cactus is. If you don't have one of these in your collection in your home, then you must get one. All it requires is a bright window. Bright, it doesn't need to be direct sun, and it likes, just as it's starting to dry out on the surface, it likes a good watering. Don't forget to give it some liquid fertilizer in the water, because there is such a thing as this plant wasting itself away from lack of fertilizer, and the first thing it does is die at the roots. But if you give it fertilizer with every watering, you shouldn't have that problem at all. It's a magnificent thing, and I've actually taken a piece off it, well, not on purpose, I knocked it off, All along this plant here, it has pieces that I can take off. They have roots on them towards the bottom there, so it's easy to propagate. Best time to propagate, of course, is in the cooler seasons. Next up is my big collection of bromeliads in little tiny pots here. This one's called Fireball, and it's near regalia. So it doesn't have the hooks. It doesn't have the serrated edge like a lot of the other bromeliads do, so you're not going to get caught up on it. But it certainly has branched out a lot, and doesn't mind the humidity or the lack of humidity from time to time. You can see the tips of the leaves get a little bit damaged, but they get damaged in nature too. And down here, this one is called Ice Cream, and it's a Guzmania. It has offset, and it did flower at one time. They get watered once a week. They would probably like a bit more than that, but that's all they get from me during the winter. In the summer, they might get a few times a week. This is a whole new leaf on my Phalaenopsis. It's one of the jumbo ones that has a large pink flowers with the round petals. See, it's trying to put out a new leaf there. Watered it yesterday. I give it plenty of fertilizer with each watering because I'm encouraging new growth, so this plant can put out some lovely flower spikes, which it should be doing soon. And it did lose a couple of leaves during the summer, but I'm pretty sure that if I was a plant, I'd lose my arms and legs in this kind of heat that we've been having. And over here we have a very common Schlumbergera or Zygocactus, and my one is starting to bud up now, so hooray, hooray, hooray. You can see all the buds here. And why is this so common? Because when people buy it, they have it forever. It's a very hardy plant. It doesn't like direct sun, especially in the late afternoon. It'll burn it. You can overwater it. You constantly water it, it can rot. You're best to let it dry out a little. Probably, when the surface starts to dry out, you give it another good watering. In a well-draining compost. And to trigger off the flowering, it's just a natural reduction in sunlight and more dark hours. And of course everyone reduces watering, so that's natural. It induces the flowering too, so it's not a difficult plant. And another thing about it is that it's one of the only epiphyllums or Rhipsalis in the tree cacti family that was able to put up with the extreme heat of summer. Up here is my Hoya retusha. You can see here it's put out some nice branches during its recent repot. It has a habit of getting yellowing leaves on it. I think we all get those on our retusas if you do have one. What's really unique about it is it's bifid. The leaves are bifid. I'm trying to show you, but here we go. Probably not bifid, more, what's the other term for it? It's almost like a tarantula's foot. But it does have an unusual shaped leaf at the tip. And this one is in a moisture retaining mix because there's no way I can keep up with the watering. It dries out far too quick and it doesn't like it. It likes something like similar to orchids. It likes water and then to dry out and then more water, but not excessively like it has been. So I've had to pick a moisture retaining mix, which is something you would not want to do if you lived in a cooler climate. Here we're living in the tropics, but what's unusual about Japan is we have an influence of weather from the west, so tropical areas can even get below zero temperatures in the winter because of the way that the land is laid out and how it's influenced by the Pacific and the west. Now up here we have this Hoya carnosa Hindu rope was repotted very late summer, early autumn, while the temperatures are still a little hot. And I had to repot it because I had had it for 6 years, never repotted it. And what I did discover in it was something that I thought was mycorrhizal fungi, because I saw little white things on the root system, and the root system is fantastic after 6 years. It was amazing. Nice white roots on it, and I repotted it, and then one day I come over and the new growth was covered in white things, but not fluffy. They were kind of smooth bodies on them, and I poked them with a toothpick, put my glasses on. One of them fell down onto the medium and moved around. I knew they were root mealybug, so I gave it a treatment, and I don't know if they're all dead or not, but one thing is for sure, this plant had the root mealybug and it didn't really bother it one bit. It was still able to grow and be healthy, so I'm pretty sure that they are wiped out because the stuff I used is pretty potent. It was slow release, sprinkled into it, and also a liquid dousing of insecticide. This one here is Hoya Lee, with its unusual cup-shaped leaves that are semi-conduplicate, almost make a cup shape, and any leaf that has evolved these unique shapes are all to discard excess water off the leaves, because being a plant that comes from a humid, wet environment, the plant wants to discard as much water as it can off its leaves so it doesn't create fungal spores growing there. But you may notice that if you do watch one YouTuber who did an episode in Colombia, he documented alocasias and philodendrons and things like that actually have mosses growing on them. So it was that damp and humid. Hoyas don't really require too much humidity, of course. 50% is enough. This one's getting roots out of the stem here. This is more of a lithophytic Hoya, and it has a tendency to like to fall down or cascade. It can climb too, but it naturally cascades down. Now native to South China, hasn't flowered yet, but I am looking forward to that. These are some of my tillandsias. They are stuffed inside a basket with coconut fiber, and during the winter they just get a good soaking outside, and they hang out there in the sunlight once a week, and they come in. They got put in there, moved from another situation. We got more bromeliads here. This one's doing really, really well. Don't mind the tips that get a little bit dried up. It's because they are grown indoors, they're not in a greenhouse. This one is the result of sunburn. One time I left them out, went to work and realized I had left them outside. Luckily I put a shade cloth over them. This is another kind of a tillandsia, so I don't know all the specific names for these. Only know a few. This one here is a much more compact bulbous form. Ionantha, I think that one's called. This one is called Funkiana. that is very unusual because its flowers are zygomorphic, just like the Schlumbergia here. Whatever you do, let them go bone dry for weeks and weeks on end. You should give them a good thorough soaking and then let them dry off. And I do have the curtains of Tillandsia usinoides, and these have my most favorite fragrance with my indoor plants. I love the fragrance of this. Little tiny yellow flowers that open up. How magnificent the smell is, and because of that I bought two, because I love it so much. I love this plant, and it comes from such a wide distribution. There are other species within this varieties or species in the Tillandsia usinoides part of the Tillandsia family. Got my tongue all twisted there. And they're distributed from Florida all the way down into Peru, even parts of Bolivia, and they don't mind dry periods in the winter. They have all the trichomes on there to protect themselves. Next up is my Hoya Kurtzii, and it's been doing much better these days. I have moved it to this room. Hopefully that the summer heat doesn't hurt it. Kind of worried about that, if the temperatures are going to get too hot for it. I might have to move it back to the living room, because I don't really know. And this thing was on the brink of death. It was very close to it. I repotted it in a moisture retaining mix that is very open. The pot has a lot of air holes in it, but it likes it like that. Didn't particularly like the chunky mix. It dried out far too fast, and if I left water in the reservoir, I didn't like that either. It would make it rot. So I just had to do what I had to do to get it to be healthy. Next one is my magnificent Hoya Sunrise, and this one is my favorite Hoya. This is my favorite. I have two, one in the living room and one here, and this one is still in a small pot that is really root bound. It's in a chunky mix. As far as leaving water in the reservoir, it doesn't like it. I've tried it many times and it makes it rot. So it likes to be well thoroughly soaked with some additional fertilizer, liquid feed, just because it's so root bound, and drain it out. That's how it likes it. Next up is this Hoya. It's putting out some new growth here. This is my Hoya Crimson Princess, and this one does have water in the reservoir. And if we take a little peek, if we can get in there, you can see that it's got a lot of roots. It's hard to see. But when I take it to the sink, I can actually see all the roots on the surface. You can see that those roots are all coming out. Hungry little roots. Look at that. This one does have water in the reservoir. Not because I chose to do that, because it likes it, and how it let me know that it wanted it, because I was growing it in a pot and I would let it dry and water it, and then one time I forgot, and it got the rots. I took cuttings, I repotted it. I started to have the same problems. It would start to dry out and then get wrinkly leaves, and I just decided to put some in a little bit in the bottom, and it sent water roots down there, and it just happens to just like that system, and it's kept it growing, and it actually pushed out a huge peduncle of flowers, And remembering that I can't compare my plants to greenhouse grown plants. These are indoors, so they're never going to be the same. But to have it flower and to have it do well and put out new green leaves, nice big ones too, is about as good as it gets. You may notice these little speckles on here. That's edema. And if you don't know what edema is, it's the cells have taken up too much water and they burst a little bit. This is even I've seen this in the greenhouse grown Hoyas too. So they do take up a little bit too much water at times, and they get some cells that burst. But never mind, it's apparently natural if you look at other Hoyas in greenhouses. This one is the Peperomia Hope, and it was repotted as well. It's doing really nice. I took lots of propagations off it because I had to cut it back when I repotted it because I would break it up anyway. And I had no one to give them to, so I had to discard them all. Here is one way that I do my baskets of Tillandsias. So I had two that died because it was that fatal mistake I made one day of leaving them out. They got sunburned. But I have these lovely three still left in here, and they're in the sphagnum moss, so when they get water they retain a little bit of humidity and moisture, and then they dry off pretty quick. Then the next day they're pretty dry. I got one called Bootsy Eye right there. There are two of them. They're growing rather slowly, but they're nice and healthy, and they are Myrmecophilia, or they attract ants. Ants live inside the hollow leaves and hollow bulbous part of this plant, and yeah, ants have an affiliation with it. These Tillandsias here are looking really good. This one's got a few brown tips, but this is what happens when they're grown indoors. Unless I turn this place into a greenhouse and I covered it in plastic on the floor. And up here, this one has got a nice name because it's called Candy. Tillandsia Candy. It's a hybrid and it's fantastic. It doesn't get any dead tips here. It gets watered once a week and it's a happy Tillandsia. This one's put out 2 new bulbs and it did flower. And what's really let me take it down if I can. What's really amazing, or yeah, what's really neat, there was a little bit of sunburn, see that? But it's recovering from it. What's really amazing about a lot of these Tillandsias, when they come into flower, their leaves change to bright reds and oranges and hues of yellow. So not only do they push out this small flower that comes out of the center, but the whole plant takes on a rainbow effect of color. It's really spectacular. It's as if the plant is making up for its lack of size of flower. It's compensating for it by making itself even more attractive by having beautiful, colorful leaves. These ones are more on the xerophytic side. They are more lithophytic, and this one is found in semi-deserts, so this one needn't be watered any more than once a week. It was looking real terrible after one winter. Don't know if it likes the low temperatures, but it's looking really good now. It's happy. Looking forward to it flowering because there's beautiful blue or purple flowers with petals on them, kind of like a little similar to a daisy, and fragrant. So we got lots of little neat tillandsias here. We got another one, cotton candy. That's it. I got two of the cotton candy ones. Whatever. One little word of advice: so when you do grow them in the sphagnum, don't bury them in it. Just sit them on the top, and if they, so that they can just get a little humidity or extra moisture. But whatever you do, don't bury them in it, and don't make it too deep. This basket's got slats and holes, and it dries off. Yeah, but if you shove it into a pot, it'll get the rots. Yeah, for sure. This nice big thing here is something unusual. Didn't notice that, but my ring split. My ring split. Look at that. Huh. But the watering and the drying out made it split, but just put some glue in there, I think. And this one is my Tillandsia xerographica. And this one has been growing. You can see all the new leaves on the top. They are all new since I've had it. They start off very narrow, but they will get wider and wider as they get older, so it's not because of a lack of light. And that powder in there is the residue of a little bit of lime. Please be careful when you use dolomite lime that you don't overdo it. Not all plants like it either, but gypsum's a better one. This is my Letterboria socialis, native to South Africa. It needs to be repotted because it's nothing but bulbs in here now, but it has beautiful little star-shaped flowers on long inflorescences, which will be coming up soon. Love this plant, easy to grow, doesn't mind the heat. I had a little rot on my jewel orchid, so I cut that bit off and I put some, I'm going to let it callus off here and then plant it back in. If you come from tropical Florida, you just grow these out in wire baskets filled with coconut fiber and a loose but moisture retaining mixture is best. Yes, you can rot them. It's like they need the moisture, and then sometimes it can make them rot. So that's the annoying part. Up here is my Nepenthes Gaia. It's been putting out some new pictures, and it's got this one on the way here on a new leaf. Started to get some yellowing edges along the leaf. It was going yellow, so I applied a little mineral. So it was a little bit of the dolomite lime, not much, and magnesium sulfate or Epsom salts. It was very, very diluted down, and then I put just a little in there. It seems to have done the trick, but I'm not going to put any more. It was just the once. So a little getting out of, probably because it's getting nothing but just clean water. It's probably just getting way beyond acidic. They do like acidic, but not that acidic. Yeah, it's probably gone down below 4 pH. It's got a lot of pictures on it. This is really good for a indoor grown one. Up here, got to get the door, but I'll be back in a minute. And that this Hoya cordata, and it's in much more light now. I don't know about this particular one that I have, but seems to like drying out and then getting some water. I was giving it enough water to keep it moist, and it was losing leaves all the time, so I let it dry out in between. Seems to like it like that, so that's what it wants. I don't know why. And this is my nice, this is a wish list plant, and finally I got one after all these years. It's a Hoya carrii, and it's the variegated one, and I did repot it because it was in the pot that it came in when I bought it, but it had a hard winter with a lack of water. It was right by a frosty window. During the winter in here, I get a bandana or a towel, and I hang it down, and I put it around the plant so that it protects it from the cold from the window, and it works really well. So it was repotted, and it came away with some new leaves, this one and this one, and a couple at the back. It's even trying to push out a new leaf there. So this one I let it dry out before I water it again, so there's no overwatering with this. And it's in a chunky mix. It's got bark, but also has a little bit of a potting medium and pumice. So I do let it dry out, not bone dry for weeks on end. I'll let it dry out over a week or two and then give it another water. So I'm happy to have that one. Hopefully it'll grow bigger and bigger over time. And down here we have another Haworthia. It's my Haworthia, what do you call it again? Limifolia, which is super common. I've always liked Limifolia, so I always grow one in the house here. Dracaena, this is Dracaena, and it's a miniature form. There's these lovely variegated leaves, and this thing is a tough plant, I tell you, because it got really hot in here, as you know, up to 35 degrees, the fan blowing, very hot. And it liked it, out of all things. Just the one thing is that when it starts to get really cold, it might get brown tips on it, possibly. But you can't have your plants perfect all the time. I really like this. You've mistaken it for bamboo. But when it does come into flower, it'll have a typical inflorescence like a Sansevieria. It'll be much smaller and fragrant. This one is the Earth Star, or the Cryptanthus, and its flowers are produced right in the crown there. Pretty inconspicuous tiny flowers that were very brightly colored, however. And then it decided to put off offsets, and I just placed them on the surface of the soil, tried not to bury them. And I think they've started to root in now. Because during the midsummer time, nothing wants to waste time producing roots. Plants tend to slow down a lot when it gets really hot. But these plants are really interesting. Another thing that happens is that I do get this kind of stuff happen during the winter, low humidity and cold, but that's just the way it is. The plant can regenerate from this and then recover like that. My Sansevieria grey honey. Has anyone been shopping and bought any grey honey? Because the name sounds a little weird. Maybe because parts of it are the color of honey, and then you have the grey. Maybe that's what they mean. This one has a lovely root system. When it dries out, I water it again, because we still get up to 20 degrees in here most days, and then it can get cold at night. But it has a nice root system. It was planted in coconut fiber, of all things, so I thought, well, it's got to go in a terrestrial mix, so that's what I did. This one is the straight out honey one that looks like grey honey, so it's very hard to see any difference at all. Grey honey and golden something or other. I can't see any difference behind my nice curtain of Ceropegia woodii is my Miltonia, and this Miltonia I've repotted in a nice chunky mix in a self-watering pot, so it's got a wicker now. I noticed that when it starts to put out new growth, which will be very soon, it finished flowering, it bursts out with a lot of roots. When I did unpot it, it had a nice root system, and the older bulbs had no root system, so I discarded that part, left the good roots on. So this plant is now in a self-watering pot. Let's see how it goes. You can kind of see that the roots are starting to come out there, so it's trying to produce new bulbs. It should be producing new bulbs pretty shortly. You can see a few roots coming out of that one there too. It's always hard to get an orchid to stay in the pot. Sometimes they want to go up, but never make the mistake of burying your plant to get that part of the orchid into the mix. This is my other Nepenthes, and it's Nepenthes ventricosa, and it's finally put out a nice picture, and it has another nice one here. When it gets bigger, it gets more interesting. This one is rather peculiar because its tip is pretty small and it's bulbous down the bottom. It's doing pretty good. There's a little water in the bottom there, so I can wicker it up. It's in peat moss. Yeah, so these are my plants. Thanks for watching, and if you have any comments, yep, let me know. Nothing here is perfect. Everything here is like true to itself. I've had these plants for years and years, a lot of them for many years, and this is how they look grown as indoor plants. They have their ups and their downs, they have their problems, as I've described, and they have their maximum temperatures and temperatures that they don't like to go below, so there are all these little obstacles to overcome. And plants that are actually cold sensitive, probably some of these Hoyas, they will have a cloth that would be put on the window side, hanging down, and it'll just take away the chill, and it does work fine. So yeah, all the extra work there to go through to be able to keep and grow these plants. But to a person who's just come into the hobby, they probably could be overwhelmed or in awe about how these plants look. But those of us that have been growing them for many years, a little bit more critical of our plants, just because we do notice the little tiny details. Yeah, but don't forget that plants will be plants, and even in nature, they're never perfect. bugs eat them, they get diseases on their leaves, they get setbacks. It's all normal and nothing to worry about. But I hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll see you back next time for another episode. And until next time, alright, thanks for watching again, and bye bye, see you.